Hi there, you handsome hippos. Welcome to another episode of MB2 Underground. My name is Sarah Kiefer.
And I'm JT. Hey, Sarah.
Hi, I feel like that just sounds so short. I'm Sarah Kiefer, and you're like, I'm JT.
So do I need to say, hey, I'm JT Jonathan Tyrock?
No, I think JT's good.
Okay. Well,
How's it going?
We can work on that. It's going great. How about you?
You know, I'm out here vibing. I feel like Barney a little bit today in my full purple fit.
Oh, it looks great.
If you're watching on YouTube.
I bet. Well,
I don't know how to
let me take a step back here. Purple looks great.
Thank you.
My wife did a thing a couple of years ago. It was a couple of years ago now, where she had her like color palettes. I guess
color
that's
analysis.
what ladies do, and I would say that probably falls in your color palette.
It does. What season is she?
I have no idea.
Okay,
She wears
I'll
like
text her.
green and like tan.
She's probably in autumn.
Yeah,
Lucky.
probably autumn.
I wanted to be autumn. I got winter.
Oh,
Yeah.
Winter's a good season. It's my favorite season. You
Good
know
to
what? What I do a lot in the winter is we put puzzles out on our table.
Don't even get me started.
Different podcasts.
Yep.
Okay. Different podcasts, because I want to get to our guest today, who is amazing. She was one of the first people that I met when I got to MB2, and has been instrumental in what we do over in BD, as well as just the organization in general. And I think some of the stories that we'll get to dive into today are going to be awesome.
I can't wait.
But without any further delay, I'd like to introduce our Senior Director of Central Services, who's been here for 9.5 years, Miss Tammy Noah. Welcome, Tammy.
Thanks.
Hey, Tammy. I'm excited you're here.
Me too.
To echo what JT was saying, when I was thinking about your interview, I was thinking about joining integration and how kind and helpful you were, because I came from marketing. I didn't know nothing. And I remember sitting with you and you trying to explain to me like eCentral, and I was like, what does that stand for? Like, break it down for me. And then, bummer for you, I ended up telling everybody how helpful you were, so then they all kept coming to you. But I'm excited to be here.
One of the most helpful people at MB2.
Yeah,
absolutely. And a wealth of knowledge.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate that.
How are you feeling about this?
This is my first podcast.
Okay.
Us too.
So, no, I'm excited. A little nervous, but friendly faces.
Yeah, and
Good.
that really nice voice.
Thanks.
To kick us off, one of the things that I think is really interesting is what happened before you got to MB2. So tell us a little bit about the genesis of your career.
Yeah, how did you find yourself here?
Yeah, how did you find yourself here?
Here in MB2 or here in dental?
Yes.
Both. So I'll try to shorten the story, but dental wasn't even on my radar until it was on my radar.
Isn't that how it happens, though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then once you're in it, you don't leave it.
Pigeonhole.
It just grabs you, and keeps you here. I was in lawn care for 15 years before I ever found dental.
Do you say
Lawn care?
Lawn care. I was an office manager for a lawn care company for 15 years before.
Grass.
Grass, yes. Okay. Grass, grubs, insects, yeah.
So what does an office manager in a lawn care business do?
We do payroll, we do customer service, we do leadership, it's service industry. So, same, just a different, different market.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lawn care.
Lawn care.
Okay. So is your yard like immaculate?
Absolutely not.
Oh.
No, I do not have a green thumb.
Okay, so that doesn't translate.
That's why she was managing.
Exactly, and not doing.
Fair enough.
Those who can't
fair
do.
Fair enough.
Exactly.
I appreciate that.
Exactly.
Okay, so lawn care to dental.
Lawn care to dental. I started in lawn care. I'll say right out of high school. Grew there and learned from the ground up.
Was that 2 puns on purpose?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then, I had a job shift, I had a life change. And so I ended up discovering dental by going through a temporary agency eons ago.
Okay.
And another DSO was actually hiring. So I didn't know anything about anything. I didn't even know my own benefits, let alone dental.
Right.
And so I learned dental by being customer service, getting yelled at, what do you mean I have a balance? What is a deductible? What's this? What's that? And so I found that I liked everything except for the phone call part of it, getting yelled at part of it. But I grasped it really easily. And so I went from, general dentistry customer service to orthodontic, the orthodontic department and how does that work, and helped with the transition, in that company, and just found that I was pretty good at it and I really liked it. So
what is it that you liked about it that kept you? I know you said once you're in, you're in. It's kind of like a gang. Like you get jumped in and you don't get jumped out, right?
Exactly.
So what is it that like kept you here in dental, that is?
Should we have a dental gang sign?
I think so. I mean, I've heard people say that it's like a cult. Like once you're here, you're here.
Wait. But it's got to be on the low, because we're videoed and you can watch this on YouTube if you want to. So we can't like show everybody, because what if
they try to be
non-dental
in our
people?
gang?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So your initiation into the gang, what kept you here?
Yeah, what kept you here?
I think it was that I saw a lot of opportunity. I saw a lot of opportunity for myself personally to learn and grow. Now, I will say that back then, whenever I started, I never imagined that I'd be here.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that it was a cult that I was joining at the time. I didn't know this was going to be, the life goals and, where I would end up. But I'm kind of glad it did. Everything happens for a reason.
What year was that you got jumped in?
I started dental in 2008.
Okay, so 2008, it's 2025, 9.5 years. So you came to MB2 in like 2013, 2014?
15.
15, okay.
When you said you were doing customer service, so for a DSO, so were you like a call center?
In the beginning, yes. It was a call center that would take inbound calls from patients wanting to know why they had a balance.
Got it.
Right.
So billing. Oh, fun.
Billing, right, which is my life now, revenue cycle.
Right.
But that's how I started learning was, I call it in the weeds. I learned.
Is that from the lawn care business?
Pretty much, yeah. I was in the weeds.
Gosh. What kind of mower? Do you have a mower at the house?
No, I pay somebody.
That's right. Those that can't do manage.
Mow. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so you started in customer service, and then you transitioned into ortho services?
Yes. So it's customer service for general dentistry. So we didn't touch any of the ortho side of things.
Okay.
It was just general dentistry, answering those questions. There was a separate ortho department that actually answered ortho because they're not the same.
No.
Not at all.
Not even close.
What's your favorite, general or ortho? Or what do you like better?
I don't have a favorite.
Okay.
I really don't.
It's
No.
a very PC answer on a podcast.
Well, no, I'm not being PC because usually people either love ortho or they hate it.
Mm-hmm.
They either love general dentistry or they hate it when it comes to revenue cycle. And so I think I'm kind of odd in that way that I don't have a favorite. I like them both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
I'll accept that.
Okay.
So you transitioned to the ortho side?
I transitioned to the ortho side so I could learn that. And then once I transitioned, the company that I was originally with merged with another DSO. And so I helped them do that merger as well from, two different practice management systems. It was a case of where we had about 162 offices once the merger happened all together. And so trying to combine those two, I had the opportunity to help with that transition. And during that transition, I learned a little bit more about the business side of things and not just the in the weeds part of it.
So 162 offices merged together, right? And now it's 162 offices. And then you ultimately went from that DSO and got to MB2.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get here? So why or how did you transition to MB2? Or
Yeah,
who
how did
introduced you to
transition
MB2?
Well, so at this other DSO, I had a leader that,
All hail the queen.
All hail the queen, yes.
The queen.
Sorry, continue.
I had a leader at the previous DSO that I had a really good relationship with and who believed in me. She believed in me and what I could do. And so fast forward, whenever she made a transition, it was a little less than a year. Her and I had a conversation, and she mentioned MB2, and the rest is history.
And who was this leader?
Oh, the amazing Susan Hubb, of course.
Our chief of staff.
Yes.
And then you coordinated her wedding.
I did.
No
That is
kidding.
such a full circle moment.
Well, to be fair, she coordinated it. I just had to run it.
yes.
Well, that's awesome.
You were doing the run of show.
That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. No, I was there. I remember. I think you guys nailed it.
Okay, so Susan introduced you to MB2.
Yes.
There's something that, so I sit very close to Susan. I don't know if you know this or not. And I know that she is a huge believer in the power of positive thinking.
POPT, for those of you who don't know.
And I understand that might be something that you also ascribe to.
I do now.
Okay, what do you mean now?
I used to roll my eyes like it wasn't even funny. Whenever she would come to us with books and things like that, I go, oh, God, I don't have time for this. Really? Like, I wasn't a believer, right? Which a lot of people aren't. It is one of those things that you just have to jump on board and you have to give it a shot. Whenever you hear it and it hits your ears, kind of like, yeah, whatever works for you, But I found myself, I don't know, doing the same things with my team. And then I had an epiphany one day, and I'm like, oh, Susan did it again, right?
I just feel like it's like whenever you look back and you're like, oh, I got that from my mom. Oh, I get it now. Like all of the things that you're like, okay, got it.
Yeah.
When you joined MB2, what did your role originally look like?
My role, I think I was set up, honestly. My role was just to come in as the revenue cycle manager. I was the first revenue cycle manager. To build an ortho department for revenue cycle, because while they had a revenue cycle team, ortho and general were combined, and they just didn't know what to do with the ortho side of things.
Okay.
And so
that was, just to take a real quick interruption here, that was back when ortho and general were basically commingled in the offices, right? We didn't have separate brick and mortar ortho partners at that point, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, it was all general dentistry offices that had a traveling ortho team. And so like the operations side of the ortho was fine. It's very similar today as it was back then. The revenue cycle is what changed. And it was with ortho being, I call it a different animal, right, than general dentistry when it comes to the billing side of things. There was no workflow. There was no clarity. There was no direction. And so I was challenged with coming in and building an ortho team. And the plan at that point in time, I remember the conversation, Susan's like, oh, it'll be great. It'll be you and 2 other people maybe on your team. Emails are really slow. It's a really different vibe, which is right. It's definitely a different vibe, right? But, the picture at that point in time was just me having a team of, for ortho only, and maybe having 2 or 3 direct reports, right?
Just to fast forward, how many direct reports do you have now?
I honestly lost count.
All of them.
I want to say I'm about 100 to 115-ish.
Yeah, so just 2 or 3.
Yeah, just a few. Just more than almost 25% of the entire support team that we have here at MB2 HQ.
Yeah, so how did that growth happen?
It feels like it happened overnight, if I look back. The growth happened...
Does it feel like overnight when you would look over your shoulder and see me and Zach Hood walking down the hall, and you would give us this face of pure, somewhat terror and annoyance because we had no idea what we didn't know, and you were so patient and kind to answer those questions that we had back to back to back. Does that feel like that was yesterday too, or does that feel like it was 5 years ago?
That feels like it was 5 years ago.
Okay, good.
Yeah, honestly, sometimes I miss it. You guys don't. You always used to come see me, always, and now you never.
We love coming to see you because you always have the answer. So sorry to interrupt. You said it felt like yesterday or overnight that you now have, 20% of MB2 reporting up through you with all the hats you wear. So tell us about that and what maybe over time as you've built a team, what are some of the lessons that you've learned about building a team, both good and bad? Like, hey, we need to be doing this more. This is successful, and we made some mistakes, and we're going to learn from those.
I would say, I'm still learning, just to say that, right? You don't know what you don't know until you try something, it fails, and then you have to go back to the drawing board. I'll say that with everything.
Yep.
So, one thing I will add before I go into that detail is from the moment that I walked into MB2, I was challenged. Because while I was in the weeds before, I'd never built a department. I never built a workflow. I never did any of those things. I was already doing those things because somebody else built them. And so it was a challenge. Built the ortho department, the workflow, working with operations and, the C-suite to say what's the need here. Getting that cleaned up, rolled out, and doing training with not only internal people and identifying those people, but going to the office level and trying to implement that change. And then, I was 6 months into my relationship with MB2, my employment.
So all of this happened in 6 months?
Yeah.
Wow. Killer.
6 months later, JC was like, hey, you want PPO? I said, sure. Here you go. So while they had a revenue cycle team working the PPO side of things, the general dentistry side of things, there was no visibility. There was no workflow. There was just work, right? And so we created workflow. I worked closely with him and, again, with other management to see what the need is with operations. How can we do this without being, too disruptive, without breaking everything, but also give some more value to our partners and give them visibility into what MB2's teams are doing to support them.
Right.
And so we created that. I had to teach everybody how to use, become an Excel guru because that was our life, right?
Excel.
Love Excel. It's amazing.
Yeah. It gets the job done.
100%.
It helps you get the job done.
100%.
It may not be efficient, but it helps you get the job done.
Look, over in the BD team, we are number nerds. We spend all of our time in Excel. So if you don't love it, it's just not where you should be.
Because I can't figure out how to make it all work. So I'm Googling how to do a sum. And it's like, oh, you put equals sum. I'm like, okay, equals sum. Yeah. Why isn't it working? I missed a parenthesis. It's dumb. I don't like it. Anyway, continue. Excel.
So we created that, added, some additional value to the partners by giving them visibility into their insurance AR and where that stood. And of course, then we started growing as a company. And so my team started growing, and working in Excel was not efficient anymore. There was too much,
It's blasphemy, but okay, go ahead.
Yeah, too much going on. And so we were able to identify through a vendor relationship possibilities. How can we up the game a little bit more and add some more value and streamline this, without, I already have a large enough team. I can't add another body to do manual processes every single time because we just don't have the room, Mm-hmm. So I partnered with a vendor, and I want to say the coolest thing ever was watching them take what was in Excel and what I had streamlined round one and kind of see it come to life in an automated platform, which we still use today.
And what's that platform called?
InsideDesk.
InsideDesk.
Yes.
So you were the brainchild, you and your team. We'll give the entire team some credit here as you guys work together, but you were the brainchild of InsideDesk.
It was a collaboration, of course, between, it was a partnership with them. They came to me with a platform that, pulled explanation of benefits at the time, which is a manual drain anyway. And so it was very helpful, but it didn't fit the bigger picture. And so through conversations and, showing them what we were doing today and what our pain points were, it took about 18 months, but 18 months later, we actually had a functional platform that we could take to scale for the centralized team to make them more efficient and to improve our collections. I mean, first year, 18 months for a build. First year that we implemented, we dropped 2% to the bottom line just because we were more efficient.
That's
incredible.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, and we love a vendor that is open to the vision and adapting it. There's so many services and resources out there that are kind of pigeonholed. This gets us 60% of the way there, but if I could help you get us the rest of the way, would you be open to it? And that was what blew my mind about the InsideDesk partnership was they saw the vision and the value of it, and they were willing to say, okay, what can we learn from you guys too?
Yeah, one of the things that I've been amazed at just being here at MB2, you can think about like Jarvis. Jarvis was another one of those things that JC and Dr. B and the team were like, hey, how can we there's got to be a better way to do this. And in that case, we found somebody who would partner with us and build it and continue to grow it out. InsideDesk is another example of that. And as I have seen more in the dental space, because I've been jumped in, just like you, Tammy. Never thought I would be here, and here I am. I think it's amazing that the opportunity and other opportunities that exist for, hey, now how can we get a little bit more efficient here? And are there other tools? And so, I personally think over the next, call it 5 years or so, we're going to see technology. I mean, we're seeing it already with AI, and I don't know, is AI integrated at all into InsideDesk at this point?
Absolutely.
I just got the notification last night on my phone that's like AI is now in your business. And I'm like, okay. Now all my shit looks different.
Do you think it knows what we're going to say before we say it yet?
No, I think I'm a wild card. I don't think anybody knows what I'm going to say before I say it.
Like completely aside, and I don't know if this is allowed on the podcast, but I've picked up over the last, I don't know, call it 6, 8, maybe a year, 6, 8 months, year or so. I like to listen to audiobooks in my car. And one of the audiobooks, they're fiction, but they're based in like current reality, quantum computing. That is something that is weird. You think AI is weird? Quantum computing is strange.
JT's nerd aside, AI in revenue cycle. I heard the word quantum, and I'm like,
no, it's crazy.
Out.
I do. Let's get back on track. Sorry for steering us off. I mean, you guys have known me long enough that I take a tangent here or there.
I got you.
And we got a few more tangents to go down. That there's some very interesting. There's some things that I find very interesting about you outside of work that I do want to talk about. But AI integrated into InsideDesk. Tell us about that.
InsideDesk just rolled this out. So of course, one of the big manual drains, on whether it be centralized teams or even the offices, is calling the insurance companies to follow up on claims and sitting on hold.
Nightmare.
And they actually rolled out AI that will make those phone calls for us.
Wait, is it like Siri on the other end? Hello, I am calling to follow up on.
She does not. It is a she. You're close.
Obviously.
But she sounds more like we do than that.
That's so weird.
Like she is, you have to pay very close attention to actually tell that it is AI.
And she can adopt based off of the answers that she's getting.
Well, of course, there's scripting behind the scenes. Okay, so you have to teach the AI what to ask, when to ask things. And
Do
so,
you script it, or who's scripting it?
well, it was a collaboration again. Partnership with InsideDesk. Working through things. So trial one. Hey, she should have asked this whenever this was said, or she should, so working through all those nuances, because there's a ton of them in dentistry, especially general dentistry. But that is ever evolving. And so first go around, she's better than she was then. She's better today than she was then.
So she makes phone. Oh God, that's so weird to say.
What's her name?
I don't think they've named her.
I think Belinda should be her name.
Belinda?
Can I name her?
Why Belinda?
Yeah.
Why not? Do you have beef with that name?
No, it's just an odd, kind of an interesting name.
Belinda.
So here's a question about Belinda, since Sarah has now named InsideDesk AI bot Belinda.
Belinda.
Does she get hung up on a lot from the insurance companies?
No.
No. Mm-mm. Wow.
No. To your point, I'm going to say this. You said, we're going to see a lot more technology in dentistry over the course of the next 5 years. I think you're 100% correct. Actually, I know you are. And we are going to see in the next 5 years AI talking to AI.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I was actually just about to say, well, yeah, they don't hang up because it's AI for the insurance companies that make you sit there.
Exactly.
But that's cool.
Crazy.
That is so cool.
So your title now is senior. I was looking at his cheat sheet. Senior director. You've had at least 4 titles since I've been here. Senior director
Yes.
of central services.
Yes.
What is that encompassing at this point?
At this point, so I oversee all of revenue cycle. That's general dentistry and ortho.
Okay.
I also oversee credentialing. And then I have a central services team who help with like vendor enrollments, identifying new platforms that might be at efficiency to offices. So whether that's from patient financing or, collections tools, things like that. Also opting out of some VCCs, which are a nightmare.
Yes, the worst.
Yes. And so they also add benefit to our partnerships. It's just there's so much that falls under a revenue cycle umbrella because it's all about, it's from start to finish. It can be anywhere from like insurance verification all the way to a collections agency, so everything in between is a part of revenue cycle.
Well, and I was going to say, you've been here almost 10 years now, and the needs of our practices have changed significantly. When I got here, it was in the 70s, so it was less than that when you got here. Mm-hmm. And being over 700, the support services have had to scale with our growth and with the needs of the practices. How have you managed that with your team and the services that you provide as the Senior Director of Central Services?
The only way to manage it is to, of course, have help. And so I can't take credit for all of this. I have some senior leadership and managers that have been with MB2 longer than I have.
I love that.
So there are two individuals, Patty Vasquez, Crystal
Love
Cantu.
Patty and Crystal. They're awesome.
They've both been here, for 14 and 16 years. And, they were here and were in the weeds, learning, and they both had the desire to grow and wanted to learn more. And so they have been part of the growth. They've been part of building out these new workflow processes. They've been part of the power of positive thinking, in all the books that we've done. And, today, I shared that I was the first revenue cycle manager. Well, today, Patty is the revenue cycle manager.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so,
well-deserved, too.
I think that's my favorite part.
Yeah,
I was going to ask is, with having at this point 100 plus direct reports, how do you cultivate the talents and skills of your team and continue to foster leadership within people that are interested in it?
Of course, it's through training. Training. I tell stories. I tell them so many stories because I have found that there's sometimes a mentality of I can't do this because I don't have a degree, or I didn't do X, Y, and Z before, or this was never on my radar. And so
limiting beliefs.
Exactly. And so
Not
I tell
positive
them,
thinking.
Exactly. And so I tell them my stories. I tell them of the great things. I tell them about my mindset. I tell them about my failures.
Susan them.
Yeah, I Susan them. Susan has
she's now a verb.
She has Susaned me.
No, I think going back to power of positive thinking and how people grow, I do think it's really incredible as someone who can sit back and self-reflect and say, hey, I never thought I could do that because I didn't have the skill set or I didn't think I did, but I willed myself into figuring it out. And I am sure, like thinking of your story, right, coming over to MB2, hey, here you go, Tammy, go figure this out. I'm sure when you got here, you were like, I got no idea how to build a team, how to do this, how to do that. But guess what? Now, 9.5 years later, 120 some odd reports later, technology, software, app development later. I mean, here we are, which is an incredible banner for you to be able to kind of hang and say, look, like, guys, this was what I have been able to do. And if I can do it, I can promise you that the team members, you guys can do it too. And I'm here to help and shepherd you forward.
How do you stay sane? Like thinking about the last 10 years.
What is somebody with all those hats and people, like, what do you do in your free time?
I either read or
You ever read about quantum computing?
No.
Okay.
I don't blame you.
I try to put on another hat and become creative. So
I love that because I imagine that your role here is very technical. Mm-hmm. It's very right brain, so you get to go home and use your left brain. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how does that creativity manifest itself? Oh, yes. Did we just become best friends?
You
Nope.
did.
Oh, okay.
I have done, I bought a house a couple years ago, and I didn't want something that was already modernized, and I don't like new. I like things that have, let's say, scars because they tell stories, right? They're not new, shiny, and put together. None of us are, but and even homes, they have character. And so I bought a home, and some of my first DIY projects was.
It was so fun to watch too. It was cool to see you doing it.
My brother and I burnt wood which is very therapeutic, by the way.
I like burning wood too. You mean like sitting by the fire with the wood burning?
No, like I wanted a burnt wood wall in my master bedroom, just for character. And I discovered that burning the wood in my garage with a little handheld torch is very therapeutic.
Like a creme brulee torch?
Yes.
Sick.
Yes.
That is cool.
And
because you can see the progress as it's like mowing your lawn.
Yeah.
Full circle.
That's what I hear.
So I have that started with that. And then I've always been crafty. So, I've made baby blankets before, and, I do like flower arranging and wreath making and things like that. And I most recently, as of yesterday, did my first abstract painting.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Have you always had this creative interest, or do you feel like this is something that got built from how much technical you've done in your life?
I've always had some interest in it. It's morphed over the years as I've grown in what I actually do. So I used to write poetry. That's where it was come out. It came out when I was younger. I actually had a poem that was published in a book. It was in the top 500, and so it was only one, but it still exists. It's out there. So that was, kind of my creativity and how it came out when I was younger, but I didn't share it with anybody.
Yeah.
And then I learned how to crochet at a very young age, so I would make random things, scarves, blankets, things like that, and it's just evolved.
I don't know why the idea of thinking of a child crocheting makes me laugh like a little granny.
So abstract art, how did you get into what took you from DIY projects to abstract art?
Well, because of course, I love to make my space at home very comfortable, and I don't very much care about what everybody else thinks. I like what I like, you know. And you walk through the stores and like you look at something to hang on your wall, and you're like, yeah, a million other people have that, And I'm like, I know I could do something that I could hang on my wall that nobody else has.
So could I commission you to paint something that I could hang on my wall at home?
Absolutely, but give me some more practice.
Just like I said yesterday.
Look, practice is overrated sometimes because clearly, like we're hammering this one out, and I think this has gone fairly well.
Yeah.
So I don't think you probably need more practice with your abstract art. I bet it's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. I feel like I don't have a creative bone in my body, and that's why I asked if it was something that developed, because I feel like I would like to have a creative outlet, but it doesn't feel like it's inside of me.
You never know until you try.
I'm trying, and then it's like annoying, it takes too long, and why is it ugly? I could have just bought this, and it would have been better. It's a whole thing.
See, I'm with you. Like I think about like DIY projects, and my wife has these great ideas, and I'm like, I kind of size them up. I'm like, oh, I can do that, and it never goes the way that I want it to go. And I look back, and now it's just like it's like a scar on the wall at my house. I'm like, okay,
but you
great.
kind of lit up about that it doesn't go the way that you expect it to. You're kind of like, yeah, that's kind of the point.
Exactly. That's how you. So I'll share with you my very first, my try for my abstract painting. I started putting paint on this canvas, and I'm like, oh, that looks horrible. And so what I did is I just took white paint and I painted over it. And then last night, I started all over again, and now I like it.
Oh, that's so fun.
I actually named it. It reminds me of dragonflies.
Dragonflies.
Yeah.
Dragonflies with Tammy Noah.
Yeah.
One of one.
I think it's good to find the balance. I think it's cool to see how your creativity has evolved. Before we wrap up, do you have any like core memories that stand out about your time with MB2 that you want to share, or just like things that you're really proud of? I mean, besides all of it.
I mean, I think if I was going to say anything to wrap things up is like I shared MB2 has been a challenge, right? Since the day I walked in the door. I knew how to do the work, but the things that I have been exposed to and that I've learned and the people that I've learned from, I'm big into self-reflecting, and I never imagined that whenever I walked through the doors 9.5 years ago, that I would be able to say half of the things that I've experienced. So I think not only is that part of me, of course, the drive and like, I'm not going to fail. I'm not going to fail. This is going to happen. I'm not going to fail. But also just the opportunity because of, being part of the dream at MB2 has allowed me to create new dreams I didn't have.
That's cool.
And what's next? What are you excited about for the future of the central operations team?
More technology.
Quantum
That has
computing.
become like my thing. I love seeing that. I love building it, seeing it work, and add efficiency.
It is cool because it takes whatever lives in your brain and makes it like real.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming in and doing
thanks,
this. We
Tammy.
really
This was
appreciate it.
awesome.
Thanks for having me.
This is awesome. Well, Undergrounders, that concludes another episode of the MB2 Underground. We will see you guys next time.
See you in the weeds.
Peace.